Welcome to the show. We still don't have a name for this show, but what are names? What are days? What even is the world anymore? The big news today is that the Payroll Protection Program has been reloaded, which is Susan Collins' great clusterfuck that she keeps trying to take credit for. So that's pretty good. Today we're going to talk to, on the program in a minute, we're going to talk to Melanie Addington. Melanie is the executive director of the Oxford Film Festival. And we're going to talk about film festivals. We're going to talk about the future of film festivals and see where they're going. And the toddler's coming in. So we'll see how that goes. So we're talking to Melanie Addington. Melanie is the executive director of the Oxford Film Festival, which is widely considered to be one of the top tier of the independent film festivals that aren't Sundance.
Aw,
Because
that's nice to hear.
there's Sundance and then there's everybody else.
Yeah.
But Oxford Film Festival is one of the more innovative ones and one of the better regarded ones. And they always do something weird with Eric Snyder.
I know. We do have a weird thing for him.
I mean, we kind of all do. So there's that. So, but thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So this is the kind of the first question I ask everybody is, how the hell are you doing? How are you holding up?
I work from home a lot, so it's kind of just sort of the same. I live on a dead end road in the country, so literally if I don't, open the news, I have no idea what's going on. It's just a small world. I do have cats that will make appearances. I'm just warning you now. I already hear them.
Awesome.
Being close.
So the way I described it to someone at the grocery store, who knows how long ago anymore, I was like, this is kind of what we normally do, except for the bar next to work is closed. And like we can't drop the kids off at grandma's house anymore and just get rid of them for like 6 hours.
Yeah.
That's kind of the big difference.
Yeah. My son's 22, so it's really no changes in our life other than now he takes classes online. So
right.
About it.
Cool. Okay, so you guys were in a really weird situation where the Oxford Film Festival was in March, right? Like March 18th.
Yeah, we were supposed to be March 18th through 22nd.
So that was just changing by the minute for you.
Literally every day we were making new, like, how we will handle it until March 13th. That morning, our governor finally said, okay, no gatherings of more than 250 people. So we knew we were no longer eligible to continue. At that point, that week, we were still thinking, if we are really careful and clean really hard, maybe we'll slide by before the whole pandemic shuts us down. And then we learned very quickly that was not going to be a reality.
Was it a thing where you guys were waiting for the governor to make the call, or were you sort of already going like, I don't know?
Yeah, we were sort of looking, we had already met that week with the board. We'd been talking with the staff, trying to figure out what to do anyway. But it definitely helped give in a red state, a very valid reason why we were doing that. So it wasn't just us on our own being those people that, are canceling for no reason.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, because you guys are kind of in a blue sort of bubble inside.
We're in a blue bubble in a very, very, very red state. Yeah.
Right. So that makes it a tricky thing. So you had a very real possibility where you would not have gotten shut. The state wouldn't have shut you down, but you would have had to make the decision to do it yourselves. If that could very easily have happened.
Yeah, I mean, I think it could have gone either way. If he'd said 1,000 people, technically every theater, except for one, has less than 1,000 seats. So there could have been a real argument for us to move forward. I did not feel comfortable with that. My board did not feel comfortable with that. I think maybe the majority of our pass and ticket holders and sponsors were very relieved that we didn't try and push through. I felt like everyone said, okay, good, you're being very responsible and you're choosing not to go forward. So
are you, I mean, it sucks to lose the festival, but are you a little happy that, I'm big with high school basketball because my brother's a high school basketball coach and it's a huge thing here. So the tournament for us ended just kind of like probably a week before any of the cases started to show up. And so I was talking to someone, I was like, we were really lucky that the tournament wasn't like 2 weeks later when everyone assumed it wasn't going to be a big deal and no one had any symptoms. Right. Are you kind of happy that, like, silver lining of this is, you guys could have
I mean, the silver linings definitely, we weren't the cause before everyone knew about asymptomatic people.
Right.
But definitely part of me is like, oh, but if we just, stayed at February Fest, like we would have been done and gone before any of this happened. So I'm definitely going through still a month later, a wide range of emotions on it.
So you would have not been the hot spot in that situation.
Right.
But you don't want to be the cause of it, where people are like, what was the real problem for Mississippi? That
Yeah.
Oxford Film Festival.
Right. I know. Exactly.
All right. So you guys are moving, from what I've read, you're moving to the fall, or you're not moving to the fall, or you don't know yet?
We have some tentative dates in the fall for maybe some events. But we're moving virtual. We launch Friday, and we looked at a lot of different ideas and what others were doing, and we thought, more than us needing to survive, our filmmakers have lost the majority of their ability to survive. There's no production happening.
Right.
Our post-production filmmakers, yeah, there's probably some work still, but most people are basically stuck, and a lot of them are 1099 workers, and there's still a lot of like crazy loopholes to figure out if they can even get support. So we decided to launch virtually and split all the ticket sales with our filmmakers. So we're basically doing 3 or 4 of our blocks every week through the rest of the summer, just to sort of not drown all the films at one time, but like actually give people some time to engage. And so we'll see. We're not sure what's going to happen.
Is that a thing you guys have geofenced virtually?
Yeah. So we, Eventive developed a system, which was really great, and we loved it, and it was very secure. But they also allow our filmmakers to geo-block how they want. So some are doing Mississippi only, some are doing US, some are doing everywhere but one country. Like every filmmaker got to choose for themselves what they wanted. And then we tried to pair up as best we could. Not all of our original blocks stayed together. We sort of had to remix some things. So it's been an interesting sort of rebuilding a festival within a festival.
So they can in doing that, then they can preserve whatever they preserve, or think that.
Yeah, we're not calling it like an online. This is a festival screening. We're just having to sort of be creative in how we make this festival screening happen. We're still eventizing it. We're doing timed live Q&As with filmmakers. We're still creating some virtual panels. We're going to throw a virtual party, which I haven't fully figured out, but I have till June to figure out. So we'll see how that works. And we're going to move forward with, we already did all our jury selections, so we're going to move forward with our awards in June and give filmmakers cash and in-kind prizes. So,
I mean, filmmakers really like cash.
I know. I've been a filmmaker on the circuit before, and getting cash is really exciting. Although my favorite award ever was a Whole Foods $500 gift certificate, which I blew mostly on beer, but it was amazing.
Sure. So one thing I was thinking of is, there's this idea that we want to go virtual now, or we have to go virtual now, but we don't want to lose any theatrical revenue or whatever deal is. So part of me wonders, are we worried about protecting something that's already gone?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think that the model will shift greatly, but I don't think the model's gone forever. This isn't the first pandemic the world has survived, and literally not the first pandemic since theaters have been around. So I think that there's going to be horrible, horrible losses, and I hate that, but I think that there will still be something that emerges out of this that I hope will be better. I think what's important about film festivals still hosting these geo-blocked events is that we're still focused on our community. It's not just me saying, hey, here's some films on YouTube. It's me saying, okay, Mississippi, come together, let's chat online, let's talk to each other, let's have these events still, because we can't be in the same room, and try and give a sense of community until we can actually be in the same room together. I mean, I love going to a Tuesday 4 p.m. movie at a theater, and I'm like one of 4 people in there and eating popcorn. Like, that's not going to change for me as soon as I can again.
So you guys have been doing you've been doing Zoom things. I've seen a couple of them floating around. Like, how is that? Like, how are you finding people are responding to that? Or how well are you reaching the community, do you think?
Yeah, I feel one thing we've been doing is making sure that all of our stuff gets transcribed or has live transcription so
Mhm.
that those who need that are not left behind. I've noticed a lot of people in quickly regrouping aren't considering that part of our community.
Mhm.
So that's been important to us. And that's part of why we went a little slower. But I think I had one audience member who just she lives out in the country and doesn't have good internet, and I there's only so much I can do when there's not good internet.
Right.
That's definitely leaving some people behind, and it sucks. All of the libraries in Mississippi got together and created Wi-Fi hotspots in their parking lots, so people who do need access to internet have them throughout our state. So there
Okay.
are resources available. But yeah, it's I don't know. I'm sure there's gonna be somebody I'm not thinking of that we're leaving behind, and I'm hoping people reach out and let us know what we're not doing right.
The Wi-Fi thing reminds me of when I did A Year Without Rent. That would be a lot of times how I would get online to like upload something would be to sit outside of McDonald's
I've
because
done it.
you could always get their Wi-Fi and they were
Yeah,
easy to find and you're like, okay, I can figure this out and then do the
yeah.
thing.
I mean, unfortunately, our festival got famous 10 years ago because of an internet situation. So we're always very cognizant of that issue.
So what are you doing to try other than what are you trying to do to keep from leaving people behind? So my hometown has been calling people, like literally these people who don't have internet because it's an older town.
Yeah.
Um, like, is that sort of thing effective? Do you guys like your email roster or your email lists? Things
Yeah,
like
we moved our monthly email up to weekly, trying to not just like keep events happening for people who need to stay engaged, but also to highlight our restaurants sponsors and be like, hey, you can still do curbside with them. Here's a special, and try and give some love to our whole community. Trying to create a virtual version of Oxford of cool
mhm.
stuff we like. We highlighted End of All Music, which is a great record store, last week because it was supposed to be, I think, National Record Day or something. So,
Yeah, I think so.
um, yeah, we're always trying to do something. We reached out to what's called RSVP, which is our retiree volunteer group, and just asked if they need us to help make calls. If there's anything we can do, but they are, of course, they've already been on it from day one, reaching out to everyone. So we definitely have. We're a retiree
Hello?
in our community.
Oh, oh,
Oh,
oh, you
did
froze
I,
for a minute there.
oh no.
Oh
I
no.
probably said something really profound.
It was very profound. Yeah. Yeah. I think
Yeah.
it was. Did you guys you mentioned on Twitter that you were trying to find somewhere that did live transcription. Did you ever figure that out? To find
Still
out?
working on that. So if anyone watching this has a great suggestion, I'm working on.
I might have seen one
Yes.
like an hour ago.
Oh my gosh.
Wistia said something about, and I bookmarked it.
Okay.
I'll send it to you. They had a whole thing about setting up a home thing, and there was something about live and transcribing, or maybe I
Yeah.
heard it wrong. I'll send it. But anyway, they seem like a very cool company.
Very cool. Yeah. For our podcast, we're just transcribing them, so the transcript goes up at the same time as the podcast.
Hmm.
But for the live Q and A's, I have not fully figured out
Yeah,
what to
for
do.
this because it'll go on YouTube first. I think YouTube does it.
Yeah.
That's one of those things that like I never thought of it before, because you just don't think of things that don't directly impact you. It's like a Republican. Um, until we got a toddler who screams bloody murder all the time, and my wife started putting the closed captioning on so she could tell what the hell was going on
I
in the
have two
show.
parents who will kill me for saying this, but they both can't hear anything. So
Mhm.
I learned I was raised in a house where the captioning was always on, and it's hard for me to watch a movie without it now. I'm so used to it.
Yeah, it's weird to start doing that. I find because I think at first I think I'm watching a foreign film, and then I get thrown that I can hear the words after they're up on the screen, and it's sort of like what's
Yeah,
going on here. But
yeah,
I'm realizing now that when I was in high school, I should have done this because I would try to watch like Saturday Night Live, and my parents have the hearing of bats, and they would hear everything. And I'm like, the damn TV is on 4. Like, what do you want from me? Like, I can't hear it. I don't know how you can hear it upstairs with your door shut.
Yeah. Oh no, that's the opposite of my life, but I get that.
Yeah, this is
um,
why I had no dating life in high school either, because you can't sneak anything
no,
past that.
no.
Like, I mean,
Yeah.
that and multiple other reasons why I had no dating life. All right, so let's talk about film festivals.
Yeah.
Where I've long been kind of a critic of film festivals. I like what you guys do, but I think there's a lot of them that are just soaking independent filmmakers, especially the people who are making like $1,000 short film and then are spending $1,000 in fees.
Yeah.
Which I think Film Freeway has done a lot to alleviate that. It seems like I mean, I haven't had to submit a film to a film festival in a long time, so I'm not 100% sure, but it sounds like everybody's a lot happier with them than
They're
they
pretty
were before.
great. But there's still like the award mills out there,
Mhm.
and filmmakers. I think some of them don't know the difference, and some of them do and are capitalizing on the buy a laurel
Mhm.
win, which I hate. But yeah, I was in the without a box camp that the year that there was a huge power outage in New York, and I'm terrible at times. I don't know. It could have been 80 years ago or 5. I don't remember when it was.
Might have been
But
last week.
yeah, probably last week. But they lost all of our submissions and we never got them back. So there's a whole generation of filmmakers who hates us because we never replied to them and we don't know who they are. And
Right.
so as soon as Film Freeway came along, we were, yes, we're on board. And they've been fantastic. But I think that there's still, and this is something the Film Fest Alliance, we all talk about a lot, both when we get together before Sundance and also online basically every day, just how many not great festivals there still are and
Mhm.
how to help filmmakers navigate that. So it's a tricky balance. You don't want to be like, this specific one sucks, but also like you want to give them tips. I actually teach a class to students at Ole Miss on Film Fest programming. So they program our student category, and
Mhm.
then I help them navigate festivals and how to deal with them. So it helps, but I feel like every filmmaker sort of needs somebody hand holding them through the process.
Yeah, and I mean, as part of it is they always say like, "Oh, we'll research the festival and see what they like to program," and you're like, "I don't fucking have time to do that. I don't."
Or how would you know? Like, I
Yeah.
mean, there it's really hard. Like, oh, look through our archives. Oh, you want to spend 3 days looking through our 18 years of films? Like, that's
No.
really a lot. Um, I like that Film Freeway does some curation, like the Movie Maker Top 50 list. Right
Mhm.
now, everyone who took the Seed and Spark pledge to sort of help filmmakers through the
Mhm.
pandemic, that's a separate curated list. And there's 170 film fest on that. So the ones that are academy qualifying is a separate list, which is obviously a great
That's
list to follow.
yeah.
So yeah, and it's so tricky because every film is really such its own beast. That you can't be like, this is the model to follow because that may not work at all for
Right.
your schlocky horror film versus your animated feature. You know?
Yeah, like my most successful festival experience was one that when Sean Hackett was running the festival, and that's how I met him. And he's like, "You should submit your film to this festival," and I laughed at him. I was like, "It's 22-minute long film, and it's an online film festival. That's not going to work."
Yeah,
Like, and it did really well. So who the hell knows? Like,
right.
um,
I
yeah,
definitely, as a filmmaker, whenever my film is like 3 minutes, obviously that does a lot better than
yeah.
my 25-minute epic tale. So,
Are filmmakers better at handling not getting in to a film festival? Like, I know that nobody likes it. It sucks.
yeah, I find one thing when I took over as executive director, not that we were doing a bad job before, we were handling it fine, but I really write a very personal note that I try to really give great feedback. And then we say, if you want the feedback notes from the reviews, we'll give them to you. Which I get mixed looks from other film festivals when I say that, because some are like, oh boy. And others are like, I don't know how you have time. And I don't, I just
Well,
make
yeah.
time. But we give feedback to probably 1,000 filmmakers that ask for it every year, and I've found 99.5% are lovely and appreciate that you're willing to engage. There's always the one who we don't understand their genius.
Right. It's,
Yeah,
I mean, nobody understands their genius is the
no,
problem. It's they're ahead of their
that
time is the thing.
Right.
And in 20 years, you'll be like, oh,
Yeah.
should have programmed that short film.
It's really frustrating, and this is my big hope for virtual hybrid fests moving forward, is that we have so many venues, so many days, and so much time in a physical fest. And there's a lot of, oh my gosh, if I just had more money and more time to be able to also host these films. So I'm
Mhm.
hoping there can be sort of a different life for some films, that maybe we can all find a little more room, especially for short filmmakers, to kind of give them an outlet that actually lets them make money in the future.
How often do people like not get into a film festival because it's like you made a movie about this, like you made a documentary about Charlie Brown, but I have two documentaries about Charlie Brown, and yours is either slightly not as good or it's just 3 minutes longer than the other one.
Every year, there's always a great example of that. I mean, it's been 10 years, but Hurricane Katrina, we're a Southern festival. I probably saw for about 4 years 20 to 40 submissions that were almost the same film.
Mhm.
And of course, we want to highlight that, but we can't have the Katrina Film Fest that year. Like, we can only tell so many of those stories. And we're not a specified festival. We're very general. We want to share all kinds of voices. And so that does limit how much room you have for all those voices, which is tricky.
How many COVID-19 films are you going to get next year?
That was one of my first tweets when the pandemic happened, was like, oh no, please remember the programmers. We're living through this too. I've already gotten one so far, and
Sure.
it's, a month in. So by next year, oh my gosh, I'm going to go with, there will be at least 750 of those films out on the fest circuit.
Would you do you just not program any of them in this situation? Just say no, fuck it, no, none of them. We're
No,
not
I
doing
think
any of them. Just tell everybody how to save your money. Don't send them to us.
we refuse all COVID now. I don't know. There may be that one that comes up with something that I am not clever enough to think of. So
Mhm.
I'm willing to try.
What do you do if the filmmaker wants their feedback, and the feedback is bad? Like the programmers or the reviewer or whatever is like, this is the worst goddamn thing I've ever had to sit through. Fuck you, Melanie, for making me watch this movie.
Yeah. So part of our training process with our screeners is
To not write that.
teaching them how to give constructive feedback rather than "I hate this movie."
Mhm.
And we do. I used to be a tutor in college, so you learned how to sort of shield the constructive criticism with a positive first. So we really try and help them hone their writing skills before the filmmakers see it. And I will follow up with my screeners if it's not helpful review, before I'll send it out. So
Okay. So you give them a chance to be like, maybe we
yeah.
write this one
Every
a
once
little
in a
bit.
while, though, if I'm busy, like, one will slip through the cracks and I'll send it, and they're like, "What do you mean? This isn't even about my film." And you're like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry."
Uh, I
But
once got rejected by the same film festival twice.
ooh, for the
I was
same
like,
film, like, same
the
year, or
same film, same year. They sent me the email, and then like a week later, I got the same form email, and I was like, I get it, guys. No, I know you don't
yeah,
like it.
don't double down. Film Freeway had a glitch this year. We had one of our promotions with them where it sends out a call for entries to filmmakers, and it glitched and like went out 8 times in a row. And people were like, "I get it. Stop asking us." I'm like, "I'm so sorry. It's not us." It's so awful.
All right, so let's talk about the thing Seed and Spark did, because you were pretty early on that, that Emily and Emily's team put out, and like just tell people a little bit about what that is and why it's important, all that.
Yeah, so obviously Emily and Seed and Spark team are always innovative and thinking ahead of the curve, not even just the pandemic curve, like the general curve.
Mhm.
And they saw, they serve as a crowdfunding outlet, but also as a source to stream films. And they sort of saw all sides of this coming at them. I'm sure Emily can tell her story better, but very early on, just engaging both on social media through emails. Film festival organizers have a Friday chat ever since the pandemic start. We've all been gathering and talking, and just everyone listening to each other. They reached out and said, "Hey, I think that we should all be working together, and let's find a way to say, okay, screw the arbitrary rules we all follow just because that's the way it is, and say, let's make filmmakers be able to succeed this year. And there's a long list of things that we agree to, which are on their website. But basically it's just like, okay, we're not worrying about when your film is made in terms of next year's entries, because there's going to be films that sat all year not being able to play anywhere.
Sure.
And then we made sure that, you know, eligibility rules, like such as like, oh, you didn't premiere here or you did premiere here, like we're just throwing all that out. So I think it's important.
How many of those rules do you think will not come back?
I think for our festival, which is the only one I could speak to, a lot of them are very arbitrary anyway. And I don't, as a regional fest, it really doesn't matter. I think, you know, the big sales fests are always going to have what they need to make sure that they're the prominent festival. But I really hope a lot of the regional fests kind of just throw that stuff out the window, because my community in Oxford doesn't care what Tribeca did or what Berlin did. Like, that doesn't matter to them. So
yeah, they couldn't care less what was at Sundance, really.
When we bring a Sundance film, we're like, oh, okay. Like, it's not a big thing for them. So
yeah, I mean, all right, so part of the point of this podcast is to try to figure out where this is all going to sort of settle, because no one has any fucking clue, really. I mean, we think we might have a clue, but we don't have a fucking clue. So, like, where do you think, what parts of film festivals are just they're not going to happen anymore? Or what is a film festival going to look like even next year?
I think the hybrid model is going to be something I hope moves forward in the future. Because I got to experience Ann Arbor Film Fest this year virtually for the first time. I never got to, there's only so much time in your normal physical schedule to travel. So it's been really nice connecting with festivals that I haven't gotten to before. And I think that's the same for audiences. I had a really good chat with some filmmakers in New York. We were all tuned in to Ann Arbor at the same time together. And I think that's really something special and neat. I don't know what parts of the physical world won't come back. I mean, social distancing is here for at least probably the next 2 years, probably longer.
Yeah.
I think that our global psyche has changed on how we interact physically with other people. So I don't know what the long-term fallout effects are, but I can't imagine I'm going to be comfortable at a midnight opening night Star Wars screening with 200 other people coughing and sneezing near me for a while. So
yeah,
I don't know. I know that's what everyone's just saying, but I think we have to be ready for the worst case scenario and prepare and be able to pivot, but hope that we can come back to some of the things we love and cherish. We'll see. I mean, you know, Shakespeare used to be the thing the poor people did, and now it's the high art form. So what is a movie right now, and who will be the audience for that in the future may change in person.
Yeah, and that was already changing. Like the whole idea of a movie versus a TV show versus a Quibi or whatever was already in flux. So
right.
You just think this is sort of, I think, an opportunity for a lot of things to go, a lot of things that didn't need to be there to go away.
Yeah. I mean, I was a print journalist, and I love print things. I love being in a physical theater. I love 35 millimeter film, but I also love storytelling, and whatever form that ends up being, I don't think storytelling is going away.
It's that was just a list of things that are going to be obsolete in 5 years. You just gave. You're like, I love books.
I love all those things that happened.
And quill pens.
Remember hugs. Yeah, I mean, we've been storytelling as long as we've existed. So,
right.
You know, cave drawings are cool, but we're not doing that now. So what's the next thing? So
I saw something interesting about cave drawings where they thought they were these like sacred runes or whatever, and then they got in closer and they found out it was just like Herod was here, or like
thing. People were just writing about farts. It was basically just graffiti on a bathroom
Basically
wall.
emojis. We're back to the same thing. We haven't gotten that far.
Yeah, and like they had this thing they thought was sacred, and at the very top of this thing it was like 15 feet off the ground, and they finally, got up there and cleaned it so they could read it, whatever, and it said, "This is very high." So I think what's we think is important sometimes isn't as important. It's just
Right. Yeah. I think we look back and revere things sometimes a little too much and are a little afraid of change.
yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, my festival may die out in this, but my love for movies isn't. I mean, I'm still going to watch movies, whatever that outlet is. So it's scary, but hopefully a lot of us are willing to sort of try and embrace some concept of the future, not just cling to, well, this is the way it used to be, so that's it.
Right. This is like the all-time best example of you can't do this is the way we've always done it, which is kind of the thing I like about this, is because that's always been my pet peeve. Is like they're like, we've always done it this way. I'm like, who fucking cares, man? That's a terrible fucking approach to anything.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird to say I'm excited about the pandemic because that's not what I mean, but also like I've seen some major coming together, some innovations, some good ideas that are happening because of this. And I just want more of that spirit to survive than the screw everyone, we're opening now to make money. People.
Right. How worried are you guys that you're about sponsors going forward? Or maybe not going forward, but maybe just next year? Because, I mean, the economy's fucked. It's so fucked.
I mean,
the real economy.
A lot of film fests rely heavily on in-kind sponsorship from their local businesses. So we all need to think through what that means, because I can't rely on every restaurant to donate $1,000 worth of food for a party when they may not even be here a year from now. So how we as a community builder can help rebuild our community, I think needs to be the priority, not what can we get from other people. And that's going to be challenging. We're very focused on hospitality for our festival. And so we're sort of having to let go of some of the things we love for the next couple of years to make sure that we thrive and that our filmmakers thrive is going to be sad.
Yeah. And I think they just announced they're pumping another, I think 350 into the PPP. So
yeah, we applied and have still not heard a word. Other film fests, I've heard good things. So I'm hoping eventually we'll get some news. But the NEA is doing a lot for arts organizations. So I'm hoping there's support out there. Hopefully.
Do you think you end up turning to crowdfunding to bridge a gap for this next
year? I actually did. My birthday was a week and a half after what was going to be the film fest. And I have a part-time year-round employee that his wife lost her teaching job. He lost all his other income and they have 3 kids. So I put out a crowdfund birthday wish and just said, I want to make sure, because normally he stops working at the end of March, but I have him, in a paycheck through the rest of the summer, and people gave tremendously. So
that's cool.
That was really generous, but I haven't done it on a large scale. And I mean, there's only so many of us giving our $25 back and forth to each other.
Right.
That I don't know. I'm definitely hoping really for larger grant organizational support to help the festivals so that the filmmakers can still crowdfund where they need to.
For their actual films.
Yeah, for the actual films so that we have films to show in the future. So.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of wonder if like film festivals will have to be smaller for a couple years just because of all the extra things of like travel and getting people in a room and all that. It's going to be a lot harder, I think, to convince someone to come down from Brooklyn to screen their film. Right. And then, like you said, your infrastructure there is going to be presumably struggling. Hopefully not, but.
Yeah, I mean, we're lucky we're in a college town with one of the main regional hospitals, so a lot of people are still employed. Okay. We do have a lot of tourism industry though, so a lot of people we love and support, they're filmmakers / waiters, and now they've lost both jobs. So there's a lot of people who are going to have to help rebuild over the next couple of years, rather than, hey, we threw a big blowout party. It's okay, how can we make sure the filmmaker gets a portion of the ticket sales so that they can feed their families, which is not as much fun,
Right.
but it's also crucial. So I'm hoping that film festivals really take that into account, that it's not just about them. They're not sitting there as a silo, that they're part of this filmmaker ecosystem that they need to make sure we all kind of move forward.
How concerned would you say you are about the college scene in terms of, because I was listening to Mark Cuban on a podcast, and he said outside of the Ivies is real bad for colleges right now, because everyone's going, I'm taking this class online, I don't need y'all.
Well, especially we get a lot of out of state at University of Mississippi, and I'm in a parents group because my son goes there right now, and a lot of the parents are like, why am I paying these out of state fees for my son to live at home in Texas when he can just enroll in the local college here? So I think people aren't really at the point of like, why bother going to college at all, but they are thinking of how they do it in different ways, which is going to hurt a lot of university towns. Yeah, I don't know. That's a whole other.
Because that's maybe one of those things that we're not thinking of yet. Where right now we're just thinking like grocery stores and toilet paper, and let's make sure the liquor stores are still open. But if you're an 18-year-old kid and you can take some classes on, like Harvard has some of their classes online. You have the Goodwill Hunting approach of going to the local library, and you could do your community college and get stuff like that, and then transfer in 2 years worth of credits. It's a hell of a lot cheaper.
Yeah, I was a college student during 9/11, and I had planned to study abroad for a year, and that evaporated. So things shift in major crises like this, but I think the intention of getting an education, I don't know if that'll change, because right now, if all of the jobs are Kroger bagging, you don't need a college education for that. So
I mean, but a communications degree, that's what you're qualified for anyway. So there's that.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, luckily we were literally updating our 5-year strategic plan next month. So we have to really reevaluate what that is now, not just updating some words, but really, really deep diving into what is the point. John Gann, who's run a lot of film festivals over the year, really has been calling out all the film festivals in this organizer group and just saying, does your organization need to exist? Does it need to merge with another festival? Does it need to merge with another arts organization? Does it need to reevaluate if it even does anything for the next 2 years? And just trying to get people to think outside of, okay, well, my festival is supposed to be in 3 days. What do I do? But what am I doing in 2024 with this?
Is part of the idea that like maybe you're better off just taking a year or two off and not operating at a loss for 2 or 3 years and getting everything rearranged? Is that part of the
I think that could be part of it. I mean, there's and we're only 18 years old, so we're still one of the new film kids around. But there's now like 8,000, 10,000 film festivals, where there used to be about 2,000 even 10 years ago. So do we all need to exist is probably a question we need to ask ourselves. I know in my state there used to be 4, and now there's like 14. And I don't know that there's enough filmmakers to survive that moving forward. And so maybe are there better statewide coalitions of arts groups you could be building events around instead of trying to survive this on your own?
Is there a model where you could say, and this is just an idea that just popped into my head, so you could say, okay, so we're in Mississippi and nobody is going to go to, say, Wisconsin and Mississippi. There's not a lot of people, and just to say you could partner with a group like Flyway or Seattle International or whatever, and say, look, it's the same festival, and you cut down a lot on a lot of your like expenses and stuff, and
like
say,
a traveling tour,
and just make it like a traveling film festival.
Yeah, we do that statewide already. We do a best of film fest package and take it to several towns in the state. We were talking about sort of trying to figure out some sort of interesting Southern circuit for filmmakers. So definitely that's something that I hope is part of the approach moving forward. I don't have a good answer for it other than, yeah, that sounds like a great idea.
My computer just flashed up a thing saying my connection is unstable. So that's exciting. All right. So I'll ask you one more question while I still have internet, and then hopefully we won't lose all of this. So
I can just pretend.
All right. So where do you think film festivals are in 5 to 10 years?
Man, I don't know. I think that my hope of where they are is that regional film festivals have emerged even stronger. People have seen this as a way to partner with curators that really bring an audience to you rather than you having to go out there and barnstorm by yourself. And that we really act more as agents to support filmmakers than I think we even are now. My fear is that those who have a lot of money are getting the PPP loans and those who don't aren't. And so we're going to end up with 8 film festivals across the country, and they'll be for a certain level of filmmaker, and a lot of people will get left behind. Maybe it'll strengthen online in a way. Like, I mean, we used to make fun of YouTube, and now like that's a career starter for people. So there's probably some cool concept out there that some kid is coding right now that I don't know about. So
I may have lost you.
Lucas is very frozen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, all right.
I went frozen.
You were frozen for a little bit. So I think it's going to be,
so,
I think the Sundance flu is going to be a little scary next year.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking about that this year. It's like, oh my gosh, I probably shouldn't have gone there this year. I'm a little terrified. I know that a lot of the spring 2021 fest are still kind of figuring out what they're supposed to be doing. I know we are. I mean, we're March 2021 fest, and I'm gonna try and talk through options to maybe be at a different time or think about a different model for next year. So it's tricky.
Yeah, because you don't want to be in the second or third wave of this and have to.
No, and I don't want to be the fest that yet again 5 days before postponed. I want to have a plan moving forward. So, yeah, I don't know. It's I hope for a lot of things, but I definitely hope that film festivals, their big takeaway is how can we help filmmakers?
All right, so let's give me your pitch to a filmmaker who's not sure about film festivals or not sure that he or she should submit their film festival to you or to a like-minded film festival. Give them the pitch, no, this is totally a good idea.
Yeah, well, I think there's 2 different pitches. Obviously, there's the, hit your hope on a big sales festival and get discovered. And then there's the regional film fest market that really, really likes to prop up those indie filmmakers and help them find an audience and help them network with others to collaborate for future. I can tell you that every film I went on the fest circuit with, I ended up meeting new people that I ended up hiring or working for on new films. And so it sort of creates basically this amazing in-person bulletin board of how to help each other continue. And I know I've learned more by watching hundreds of movies for film festivals than I would if I stayed in film school forever and ever. So, yeah, I mean, there's so many different reasons besides, I got to see Portrait of a Lady on Fire at a film fest well before it came out. God, those are those moments that you're like, oh my gosh, I get to experience this. But also just getting to meet other filmmakers and know you're not alone in this. And some days when you're, pulling out your credit card and asking your mom for a loan, it feels like you are. So just having that community is so important.
Yeah, I got to see Upstream Color at Sundance, and I was just like, well, it was a lot of, I think I was sitting next to Eric Snyder, and it was a lot of like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
Holy fucking shit.
Oh, well, speaking of Eric Snyder, we saw The Greasy Strangler together at Sundance, and by the end of it, it was him, me, and like 3 other people in the audience that remained. And we left going, this is the best thing in the world. So then I went to Sidewalk Film Festival 8 months later and dragged everyone to go see it with me that was there. It's like, I promise you, you have to see this. So those moments are special and something I hope definitely continues. Me dragging people to weird movies.
Right. And now he just makes up songs in his apartment and goes viral
I mean,
on the
that's
news.
not new though. He's just putting it on
Yeah.
the internet more now. So I appreciate it.
And he seems to have lost the hat. I don't know what happened to the hat, if it's gone.
I don't know. I guess it's his new pandemic look.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll cut this short because who the hell knows what's going on with my internet? Probably the children are watching all of the shows.
Yeah.
And on like 16 different devices.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for joining me. You want to give any parting words, a pitch for anything?
Nah, I'm good.
Awesome. Awesome. So your Twitter handle will be right below you there. The Oxford Film Festival. Everybody says nice things about the Oxford Film Festival. Even the people that didn't get in. I don't know if that's true.
Not all of them. Not all of them for
some
sure.
Some of them are pretty angry about it. But what are you going to do? There's idiots walking around protesting whether or not.
Sav Rogers, a filmmaker at Art House this year, said this really great thing. You know, those filmmakers that are passionate and angry with you, it's because your festival matters that much to them. And take a moment and think about that when you're getting those very angry reactions. So,
I like that.
I
Or their parents have never told them that they're not the most talented person in the world.
Also a combination of that.
We had a theory in college that the best writers, because I was a writing minor, that the best writers were the writing minors, and the writing majors were always the worst writers in the writing classes. Because
I don't disagree. As a writing major, I do not disagree.
Because the theory we had was that the writing minors were people who just really liked it, and they were like computer science or engineering or whatever, and they just they just really liked writing. And then the writing majors were a lot of times people who would just go, oh, isn't that creative?
Oh, did you read Blake?
Yeah. And so they just never did any, they didn't get any pushback on them, and nobody ever said the writing why would you do that? You can't make a career out of that.
Yeah. I took this great professor at Ole Miss, Barry Hanna, who's now passed on, but he's an amazing Southern writer. And he said, if I like you, you'll get a B in this class. If you got an A, you followed the rules, but you're never going to be a writer. So all of us waited anxiously for our B to know we were accepted.
I like it. If you got an A, he's just like, just go.
Just go on. Get out of my class.
Please leave. Yeah. All right. Awesome.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And hopefully this recorded.
We'll see. We'll do it over again. Not.
It'll be an adventure. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much.
All right.
I want some water.
You want some water? Okay. There you go. Be careful. Careful. All right. So that we had a few technical difficulties there. We had some issues with the internet. We'll chop that up, get it all fixed, and yeah, Reese, do you want to tell people to subscribe?
We're the squad petters.
Sure. Can you say subscribe?
Subscribe.
Yeah. Okay. And then say bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Good job.